I would go ahead and get started.
Well, can you just share how long this town hall has been in the process? I'm just curious why did you want to come to Indiana?
Yeah.
Well, it's been the process. We've been in talks for years now about her coming and us doing a forum together. I think the blessing that Donald Trump has presented is that, one, we're able to see each other. We're friends, we're workout buddies, and we're actually neighbors. We live in the same building in D.C. But it created an opportunity because she's here in the Midwest taking care of some personal business. And so, hey, let's coordinate our schedules and finally make this happen. We've been talking about this forever. Let's make it happen. Yep. And I think the time calls for it. She's held town halls. She keeps holding them. I've held town halls. And now is the opportunity for us to come together and hold a single town hall.
When is the last time you did an in-person town hall in Indianapolis, Representative?
I just did a community chat with organized labor. So we've had, I meet with groups all the time. We've not used the language of town halls because the language of town halls prompts people who are bad actors to want to make bad statements. And we've gotten 3 or 4 death threats in the past few weeks because of the phraseology town hall. And so whatever it is about that term, it sparks a lot of people who want to target us. Remember, on January 6th, there was a person who showed up to the Capitol with explosives in his vehicle with my name on the list. And I served with Gabby Giffords, as did with Clark, and we know what happened with that. Unfortunately, thank God she's alive. But we didn't want to repeat that effort. So we've held town halls, but they've not been called town halls. I just held one over a month ago at a downtown restaurant in Indianapolis, but we didn't call it a town hall. We called it a community conversation.
And are those been open to the public, or how do people, are those been for specific
groups?
Well,
certainly. The larger ones that are known as town hall have been virtual because of the death threats and because we were able to accommodate more people. I mean, here it's been very limited because of the spacing. But with the town hall we had over 800 people, and then the second one, there were over 400 people. So we've been able to kind of maximize our constituents' presence by making it more convenient because parking won't accommodate 1,000 people.
What are you noticing from many of the questions that you're being asked? One person that I spoke to out there said they felt some of them were basic, but is that what you're hearing, the same thing over and over again, or are there other things that you're hearing as well?
Absolutely. We're hearing the same things. What are you going to do about Social Security? What are you going to do about Medicare? What are you going to do about Medicaid? There may be variations of those questions, but those questions that were raised that may have specificity, we'll answer those as a team.
NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya says that, quote, I don't personally believe that autism is caused by vaccines, but if I were to run a scientific study and didn't also examine that as a potential hypothesis, it wouldn't be a valid scientific examination. Again, that's coming from the NIH Director himself. What would your response be to that?
Listen, autism has been studied and documented, and this connection to vaccines has been completely debunked. And what we are seeing now is a Secretary of Health and HHS, Health and Human Services, who is continuing to do 2 things. One, say to families who have an autistic family member, somebody on the autism spectrum, you don't really exist. This is a made-up disease. And at the same time, proposing registries for Americans with autism. So what are we doing here? And where have we lost our way with science and believing in science instead of these crackpot theories put forward by the secretary? So let's return to science and continue to make the investments in science, which we are seeing just today, further cuts from the White House too.
Well, how do you follow up though, Congressman? What is your response to that though, Congressman?
Well, I agree. I think that we need to rely on professionals. We can't use pseudoscience to make determinations about people and who they are. And I think that if we're giving voice to people who are not credible, then I think it's a groundwork and it's a foundation for more destructive and harmful myths. I mean, at some point, we're going to give voice to people who believe in eugenics. And I think that we need to make sure that NIH is the body that it has always been in terms of encouraging innovation. We have to push back on budgetary cuts. It's impacting great research institutions like Indiana University.
One of the questions asked on the panel was, what are Democrats doing to save democracy? You both have been quoted as saying, and you said in the just a few minutes ago, we're fighting with everything we have. Given that, and the outline that you gave everyone in terms of how Democrats are fighting back, how you were fighting back, just your thoughts on Cory Booker's 25-hour filibuster, the AOC and Bernie Sanders fighting oligarchy tour, who are Democrats, independents, and others doing things that are non-traditional.
I love it. I'm non-traditional.
Okay.
Look, I think in order to defeat Donald Trump and the far-right MAGA agenda, we cannot use the same tools we've been using. We cannot use the same keys to unlock the same door. We're going to have to use non-traditional means and methods to replace this Republican majority with a Democratic majority and have Whip Clark in leadership, Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, and Democratic members with gavels who can make a real difference.
The president,
All right, Tom, we have time for one more question.
The president says he's going to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. I'm curious to see your reaction on that and what that portends for higher education.
Yeah, this is another illegal action. Harvard has done nothing to endanger its tax-exempt status, but this is the same attack we've seen on the media, on big law, on charitable organizations, on universities. And not only is this an illegal action that is part of a vendetta instead of part of something to grow our economy, to center work around the American people, it is going to have such an impact, not just to Harvard students and faculty, but going back to the themes that we were just talking about. Harvard is one of the global leaders in research. And when you attack Harvard, when you take away its ability to survive, to provide financial scholarships, to conduct that research by cutting off the funding from the NIH that is a critical partnership, not only do you take away hope from families who are dealing with Alzheimer's and diabetes and cancer diagnosis, ALS, a whole host of diseases and rare diseases that need that hope, you are also cutting off one of the most dynamic and powerful economic drivers in our country, the innovation economy. And when you take away that pipeline that comes from the academic labs into the marketplace, you take away our ability to remain the top country in the world at taking those ideas and turning them into cures, hopes, and also an economy that leads the globe in innovation.
Congressman, your challenger says that you're holding this event because you're worried about your race, you're worried about the primary challenge. How do you respond to that?
Well, this is a democracy. Anyone's welcome to run. I have to remind folks that we've had Speaker Nancy Pelosi in town. We've had President Barack Obama. We've had President Biden. We've had First Lady Jill Biden. We've had Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. We've had the SBA administrator here. All official events. These weren't campaign events. He probably doesn't remember because he wasn't living here at the time, nor did he vote in 2022. So I imagine he would say that. But folks who have been here know that this is something regular for us. We always want to bridge the gap between Democrats who may have different ideological differences or philosophical differences, but we can come together and hold hands and touch and meet and greet Hoosiers, because I think Indiana and Hoosiers represent all that is great about America.
Do you hope to have another one in the future, maybe a more traditional one where people can come up and ask you a question with a microphone? I think when I talk to Hoosiers, that's what they really want. They want to be able to have you hear their voice rather than somebody read their question to you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're using different means and methods. I mean, if you attended the virtual one, it's kind of a freestyle, so people can ask questions directly to the moderator. But we've been able to capture a larger audience virtually. It's been more convenient, and the questions have been more specific.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
What's that?
Could you speak on the dismantling of the museum at all? The history museum?
Which museum?
African American.
Well, that's a great question. It deeply concerns me, and I think it reaffirms the point that there has always been a deliberate attempt to dismantle and reframe Black identity, Black stories, and especially Black history. So if it's happening now in 2025, imagine what has happened throughout the annals of history. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.